I am speaking with Eric Hutchins, a habitat restoration biologist with NOAA, and he is going to tell us how the special guests are doing who arrive each springtime in our rivers and streams. Are they early? Are they late? Eric, tell us about the river herring and the eels who are arriving right now.
Well, yes, good afternoon, everybody. The special guests have arrived in both Rockport and Gloucester, I'm happy to report. Sometimes they arrive late, and almost every year they do arrive, but some years they don't, but they have arrived. We have river herring that have arrived at the Gloucester Little River and eels, and we've got eels arriving in Rockport. Now, as far as arrival times, we'll start with the Little River, April 9th. Where I believe was the date that this past week, the first river herring were spotted in the Little River over in West Gloucester. West Gloucester has people that have been looking at the river herring there, making fish counts for over 20 years now. It's a very long public volunteer effort, and it continues to this day. And it's, everybody gets excited when the first fish arrive.
Well, I want to talk about the counting of the fish a little bit later on, but tell us, is this an early arrival for the herring in the Little River?
I would say that without me looking at specifically at the data, we almost always see some sign of river herring in those first 2 weeks of April. So that is on target. Sometimes just 1 or 2 days of warm spell can be enough to draw some in, though we haven't really had any of these big oddball 75-degree days. It's been warm enough that it drew some in.
So, and just to be clear, these river herring are going upstream into this fresh water to spawn. They will have their babies, and then their babies will return to the ocean, right?
Yes, their babies will return. They'll start returning anywhere as early as July, and depending how the flows go and the summer rains and their growth, they outmigrate in some systems as late as October. So it's a whole range depending on the system. We don't have good data at all on outmigration on the Little River. And as some people may know, the Little River goes dry sometimes in the summertime due to water withdrawals, and you have to wait to get a couple of good rains for the stream to go up. Otherwise, it's too bony, too dry for them to make it downstream. But they're okay staying up in the lily pond for a while, though there's good and bad about that. Part of their reason it's not good to stay in lily pond, but it's good for other reasons, is the pickerel and the bass have a feeding frenzy all summer long. That's why the pickerel and bass fishing is so good. That's why some people who like to recreationally fish in Gloucester should love river herring, because when you have river herring making it into a freshwater system, your bass and pickerel fishing is often much better.
So tell us about how the eels are doing.
Eels. Well, I'll tell you how they're doing this year. In general, eels are not doing good in North America overall. But as far as this year goes, eels have been spotted in the Little River, and we don't actually have counts of eels in the Little River. We don't have indices. It's just been people's visual observations today, tomorrow. Hey, I saw 200 last night, that type of thing. But this year, there's actually a trap in the Little River that is being managed by the Division of Marine Fisheries in collaboration with the shellfish and river herring wardens of Gloucester. It's a locked trap. It's chained to a post, so it's not something somebody can steal or open up. But once a day, they open that up, count the eels, see how many are in there, and get a rough estimate of their size and length. I don't know if the trap has actually caught any yet. It's often slow to get them. They're in the lower estuary. They're making their way up. I haven't heard that yet, though I would expect eels to be caught there any day, partly because of our observations in Rockport, where we also have a trap. And the trap in Rockport has been there for 6 years. And we caught our first eels on Monday. We caught 3 in the trap on Monday, and then we've got 1 since then. So the eel run is definitely on. Good chance that the same groups of eels that are coming up the coast are coming up together as they're going into Little River and the Millbrook in Rockport.
So these eel are arriving as little tiny eel, right? Little baby.
Yep.
So can you describe the life cycle of the eel for us? It's so interesting.
Yes, the American eels, the ones that are arriving are, when we see them in the stream, 2 to 3 inches, most of them, just 2 to 3 inches. And when they first arrive, right there at Route 133 in Gloucester, or right at Beach Street in Rockport, they're called glass eels, and they're transparent. They are truly transparent. You can hardly see any of their organs or any bones or anything. And that's part of their strategy to make it all the way through their migration from the Sargasso Sea southeast of Bermuda, over 2,000 miles away is where they're born. All of them, all the eels are born there. And as they migrate, this is part of their camouflage. They're just like ghosts migrating up the Gulf Stream and through the currents to their streams that they end up making their way to. And then soon, very soon after entering freshwater, they start to metamorphize with pigment. And in the case of the Rockport mill trap, it's only 500 feet from the ocean, but every eel that we've ever caught in that trap has already changed its coloration to brown or black. So just in it, and then the reason for that is because that's good camouflage in a dark stream with black muds and plants so that they don't get eaten in freshwater by bass and pickerel and birds. So those fish have swum 2,000 miles, the eels, to get back to Cape Ann, and they will spend anywhere from, I believe, 7 to upwards, we believe, of 30 years in our freshwater systems. And a big female will grow upwards of 3 feet and 3 inches in diameter. We don't know exactly what the cue is when an adult eel says, this is the year I'm going to go spawn, but their out migration takes place in the fall, and it almost always is associated with a large rain event. So late October, early November, you get a big 3-inch rain event, they're heading downstream. Sometimes in some big rivers, thousands, tens of thousands. It's almost like a vernal pool event where all the salamanders migrate on one day. The eels all migrate on just a couple of days to take advantage of these high flows to help them get downstream. They migrate back to the Sargasso Sea, lay their eggs, and then die. We've never seen that happen, but we know it takes place.
Yeah. But are they easy to spot when they're leaving, these large eels?
They are if you're there.
Yeah, right.
It's nighttime.
Yeah.
It's during a heavy rain.
Yeah.
And they're black.
So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, people historically set rocks up and catch them for harvest, sometimes during the fall. That was the Native American often would catch them in the fall, and more modern harvesters, but they're tough to see. Unfortunately, where they're sometimes seen is out migration on large river systems that have hydro dams, and they go through the turbines and they get killed. And they get, so that's one of the ways we actually know when it's taken place. I know people that have actually taken underwater films just downstream of a hydro dam, and it's spitting out bits and pieces of large adult eels. And that's something that state and federal and local agencies are working on minimizing and preventing all throughout the East Coast of the United States. That is one of our objectives, is to create better screens to prevent that, bypass channels. It still happens. Nobody likes it. Take my word for it. Those hydro owners don't want that either, but it happens.
So people can see the alewife and maybe some eels at the Little River, and we can watch. Can we meet you and count eels in Millbrook Meadow this year?
Yeah, we have volunteers that we have basically 7 days a week. The 7 days, we have 7 volunteers that come and go at times, but for the most part, we have regulars. A couple leave every year and a couple new ones. It only takes 10 to 15 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes to do the sampling in Rockport, unless we catch a lot. One day we got over 500 eels in one day.
Oh my God.
So that took us a while to count them all.
Yeah.
But we have literally hundreds of people every year, even last year in COVID, that would stop by when we are at the Millbrook Dam at Millbrook Meadow, which is very public, right upstream of Beach Street. We try on Saturdays to do our sampling at 9 a.m. to make it one day that we have a known time. We don't always stick with it. We do our best. I can happily be contacted if someone would like a demonstration. I'm more than happy to meet somebody there on a particular day to give them a demonstration, hopefully see some eels, because I really see and value public understanding of these fish. So more than happy to do that anytime. But every day somebody is down there, and usually someone's hanging their head over the dam saying, what are you doing? What's in the bucket? What are those? how far did they swim? Do they taste good? There's a whole menagerie of questions. And then if they don't ask questions, then I tease them with some questions.
So let's talk about fish counting, because people could go down to Millbrook Meadow and sort of check you out and see what you're doing, but other people can volunteer to actually count the river herring, right? You have a whole system for that.
Yep. You can the shellfish wardens, and in particular this year, Rebecca Visnick, she's a shellfish and herring warden in Gloucester, is leading up the effort to count river herring. It's a count that takes place every year from roughly April 1 to May 30th. And all it requires is for someone to do a 10-minute fish count at the Little River, which is right behind the water treatment plant at the corner of Route 133 and Concord Street. Not Concord, Hesperus. Yes, Hesperus. The water treatment plant, there's a platform that was built by an Eagle Scout. And all you do is you stand on that platform. You've got a safe rail to stand on. It's handicapped accessible. There's a platform. It's not stairs. You can drive right up to it, sit on the platform. You look down in the stream and you count for 10 minutes. And we'll count how many fish we saw swim by, get a water temperature, cloud cover, and air temperature. And that's it. Many of the slots are already filled, but there are many still left. So if someone out there is interested in doing live fish counts, by all means, there are still opportunities. And to reach out to your shellfish warden, Rebecca Visnick, and she'll send you the one page of instructions and find a slot for you that works for you. And for anybody that doesn't want to go in the field, even with COVID issues this year, we're asking everybody, if you see somebody there, you don't go. But if you just want to go over and visit, by all means, go over and count fish, even if you don't want to do an official count. Go look at them, enjoy them. It's a beautiful place to be with the water running by, fish going by upstream. But if there's someone counting, give them their space. But if you need lots of space and aren't even leaving your house, I have an opportunity where you can count fish online, live. And all you need to do is go to this webpage, PlymouthRiverHerring.org. Very simple. Plymouth, Mass. PlymouthRiverHerring.org. We have a high resolution underwater camera at the top of a fish ladder where fish are swimming by as you and I speak right now. And we do online fish counts. If you go to that webpage, you have the opportunity to look at the camera live, or there's a place that you can click on. It says count fish, and it's clips, video clips that were downloaded from the live camera that are only 30 seconds to a minute and a half long, and it's all automated. You just stare at the screen, count the number of fish, and then it says, how many did you count? You enter it, hit send. And last year, we got fish counts from all 50 states in the United States in 41 countries around the world, including even Greenland. This year, we hope to pick up Antarctica. So that is an opportunity for anybody out there, and you can share that with anybody you want. We want more people counting fish in Plymouth or anywhere, but if you don't have time to jump in your car and count fish, you can do it online, and it can take you as little as 1 minute.
Well, Eric, thank you so much for sharing all this information. It's always so great to talk to you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye now.